Hey guys, what is up? It's Michael here. I know I've been making regular videos, so I've decided to start reviewing and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Yeah, so a lot of us grew up in Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I'd say that it's a very well-known book. And I've noticed that a lot of kids especially like to collect these books, especially when you do it, you can see beautiful, beautiful colors on your wall. This is basically like one of the books that a lot of kids read without knowing that they don't like to read. But I decided that after many years of not visiting this series, I've decided to go back and look at the very first book that started out the genre. And I've noticed as we go through each one of these books that they become more and more funny, but also less and less having some sort of plot. But we'll get more into that later. Without further ado, let's get started on the book. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the first book, by Jeff Kinney. See, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, the first page, which has the title, the author, Greg Heffley's journal. There's Greg Heffley, there's Rowley, there's Fregley, Manny, Roderick, the mom, the dad who do not have names. Oh wait, no, Susan and Frank, I forgot. Usually in each book they focus on a certain character, which they've also not done very well in the last few books I heard. In this one, we're focusing on Rowley, Greg's best friend, and we will see how this comes out. Now on the first page, it starts in September, so beginning of the school year, and as you can see, Greg Heffley is not a very strong dude. Greg Heffley says that he does not want to have a diary and wants to call it a journal. I have no idea why that's such a big deal to him. Maybe it's because he's a 6th grader and he's a freaking retard. He says to disregard the fact that it says diary on the front and think of it as journal, so I guess we follow his word for it.
Sassy? Oh, I'm just a little boy and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just a stereotypical main character who can't have any masculinity.
He wants to believe that he will one day grow up to be very strong and handsome, never actually defining any sort of occupation that he plans to have. This is a recipe for disaster. He calls his people like around him morons, when clearly we can tell that he is not really much better. Hopefully they do not look like what he's actually drawing, because number one, he spent a lot of time making sure they look nasty as hell, but also he kind of spent a lot of time being kind of dicks to everyone. And then he draws like how like middle school is all about survival. Bitch, I've been in high school, alright? And he's talking about Chirag Gupta, this wimpy little stereotypical wimpy kid who is good at whatever, smarts, whatever. I don't really give a fuck. I guess he's in 6th grade now, so he starts talking about girls and how like, oh my god, I wish I could date that girl. And he talks about how they start backstabbing him behind his back, but which first of all, very, very cruel. And I guess somehow he knew what that letter said. So yeah, that's on you, Greg. If girls don't like you, they talking about how like fast runners are apparently attractive. That's hilarious. And then they start talking about how guys are always hating on girls and how he doesn't hate on girls, so he's justified by that to steal a girl's heart, and he doesn't. It's 6th grade logic, but at the same time, it's still very cringy as hell. And I didn't really notice this until I'm way older, so maybe it's because I'm not the target audience, but there's that. And he starts talking about how he's the 52nd or 53rd most popular this year. Like, does he have a chart? Does he know everyone's name already? I thought he just started 6th grade. Or does everybody from elementary school just carry over to this school? A lot of variables. And then he starts introducing Rowley, where he starts explaining all this bullshit to him, and he wisely ignores Greg's advice. And then he goes to Wednesday. Wednesday, the day we had phys ed, so the first thing I did was I go to the basketball court and was sneaking off to find the cheese. So there's the cheese, which is by default the most interesting thing in this book. So to the author's credit, I noticed that he does very well job at making Greg a likable person, even though he's very mean, he's very cringy, does a lot of very stupid things, yet he's still the most likable person in this book. Actually, scratch that, no. There's an easy way to do that. You just make your main character an ass, but you make them side characters all even bigger asses, alright? And then he talks about the cheese that's on the blacktop. Apparently it's like this ancient thing that people put on the blacktop, and it's like, if you touch it, you get the cheese touch. This kid named Darren Walsh touched the cheese with his fingers, and that's what caused the cheese touch. and like it's basically like the cooties, and when you touch it, it makes people scream. And still, the only way to get rid of it is by passing it on to other people, which is kind of a confusing system because, I mean, how do you know when someone has it or not? What if someone starts pranking and like just starts touching people? There's a lot of variables here, and this does not add up in what way whatsoever. And another way is to keep your fingers crossed, which is weird. What is this rule? Does everyone just go by with this? I feel like some kids would be mature enough to know that the cheese touch isn't really something that you should be worrying about, and maybe some grades would be more worrisome. So he says that this cheese touch has more. This is the biggest stress I've ever heard in my life. I have no idea what finals are, but they can't be much worse than the freaking cheese touch. Anyway, Thursday rolls around, and now he gets to Roderick, where he wakes up in bed the next morning, and Roderick pranks him by making it look like it's school day when it's actually still summer. He has his clothes on, turns out the blinds so it looks like it's still day, and he tells Greg, "You overslept, you better get ready to get to freaking school." And he gets to making breakfast, and his dad is like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? You're already tired." And it's like, "Dad, it's okay. I'm just doing breakfast." But anyway, then he goes and says, "Roderick tricked me," and then Roderick is like sleeping, pretending that he didn't do anything, like a savage. And then Friday rolls around. Today we got assigning reading groups. Oh, they have reading groups in 6th grade. That's interesting. They don't come right now and tell you if you're in the gifted group or easy group, but you can figure out by the books that they hand out. Oh. Well, that's a failed system. I'm pretty disappointed to find out I got put in gifted group because it means a lot of extra work. When they did the screen at the last year, I did my best to make sure I got put in the easy group this year. Fred picked up the book. Ooh, thanks. Maybe I can get out of finals by doing that. Mom is really tight with our principal, if you know what I mean. So I'll bet she steps in and made sure I got put in the gifted group again. She always says I'm a smart kid, but I just don't apply myself. That's like the exact opposite of my mom. You're stupid. You're stupid. You don't apply yourself. But there's one thing I learned from Roderick is to set people's expectation really low and end up surprising them practically doing nothing at all. All right, that's some smart advice. This book is really telling people that slacking off is okay. And it's also showing like a really bad example. Like Greg is a horrible example for humans, and these kids growing up reading this book are probably gonna act like him, and it's not very healthy. It's enjoyable for a book, but I don't think it's healthy for the kids to think like this.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right, now we go to Saturday, the first weekend. So he's sleeping in and all that, and his dad comes in and starts fucking up his sleep with his vacuum. So he decides to go to Riley's house. Riley's technically my best friend, but that's definitely subject to change. I've been avoiding Riley since the first day of school, and he did something that really annoyed me. We're getting our stuff from our lockers. At the end of the day, Riley came over and said,
"Wanna come over to my house and play?"
"Okay." So, wanna come over to my house and play? This triggered you. So Greg is obviously triggered by the play. I'm PC. I say that it's hang out, not play, Rowley. If you say that again, I'll rip your balls off, man. I'll rip them good. I'll rip them balls off, man. And I've been trying to be more careful about my image ever since I got to middle school, but having Rowley around is definitely not helping. And then Rowley does some gay-ass joke about knock knock, thermos. Excuse me? Thermos be some way to tickle your funny bone. Say what? I guess I felt sorry for Rowley. Okay, so now you're acting like he's the retarded one. You're the retarded one, Greg. Oh, never mind. The next page just proved me wrong. Did you know that your hand is bigger than your face? It's a sign of low intelligence? Really? God, gotcha. Oh, bitch. But how do I have low intelligence? Let me check again. Rowley cannot be that retarded. Is he? Is he? Maybe he is.